There is a lot of big moves being made right now around regulations in and outside of the US regarding crypto. And we definitely have to put a spotlight on the SEC because it is one of those agencies that is attacking crypto from all fronts. Now, they're not the only ones, as I have outlined multiple times with Operation Choke Point 2.0. Now, we also have to put a spotlight on Ripple because they're one of the few companies that have actually battled the SEC and well, it looks like they have become victorious, and we're going to be talking about that. But with all of that being said, welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. And also, don't forget to join the free Discord down in the description below. You guys will not regret it. There's a ton of great, valuable information in that Discord. So what are you guys waiting for? Definitely go check it out with links down in the description below. Now, with that being said, let's dive on in and let's talk about a few things. So I've outlined multiple times in the past that the SEC has been piling up their losses when it comes to crypto. And this goes all the way back to August 30th of 2023. We're talking about a whole year ago. And since then, yes, losses continue to pile up. The SEC continues to surrender as well on a lot of major movements. For example, Ethereum. But they continue to still fight back against crypto. And we're going to be talking about that. But I wanted to bring this back up because, yes, the SEC has been losing pretty bad in the last, I would argue, 12 months, but even beyond that. It really kind of started back in the middle of 2023 when we did put a spotlight on Operation Choke Point 2.0. I feel as though once everyone started to really kind of realize what was going on, I think that that's when we started to see a major pushback against the SEC and pressure being put on the SEC as well, which kind of helped us get these losses. And when I say losses, I mean wins against the SEC, which was piling up those losses for them. But outside of this, over here we have from Brad Garlinghouse back in the end of July. And I'm bringing this back up just to kind of show you guys the pathway here that really kind of led to some of the bigger wins just recently against the SEC and why it's so important to even focus on now. So we have over here the SEC Gov has retracted its request for the court to classify tokens like Solana, Cardano, and even Polygon as securities in its lawsuit against Binance. And we have from Brad Garlinghouse more evidence of the SEC's hypocrisy. Chair Gensler testifies the rules are clear, yet the SEC can't figure them out and applies them haphazardly, festering more industry confusion. A political agenda and or bad faith litigation tactics, definitely not a faithful allegiance to the law. And we also have over here, and this was more recently, beginning of August, you guys already know, the SEC asked for $2 billion and the court reduced their demand by 94%, recognizing that they have overplayed their hand. We respect the court's decision and have clarity to continue growing our company. This is a victory for Ripple, the industry, and the rule of law. The SEC's headwinds against the whole of the XRP community are gone. Now, this was a very big announcement, and of course, we did get some more information from Stuart Alderoty, the CLO, the Chief Legal Officer at Ripple, and we have a final judgment. The court rejects the SEC's suggestion that Ripple acted recklessly, and she reminds the SEC that this case did not involve any allegations of fraud or intentional wrongdoing, and no one suffered any financial harm. She rejects the SEC's absurd demand for $2 billion in fines and penalties. We respect the $125 million fine the court has imposed for certain historic sales to sophisticated third parties. So again, they're going to probably pay the $125 million fine if that is the case. But we still have a little bit more to go when it comes to this case, but it is a very big win for Ripple, and it's a massive loss for the SEC. Listen, I'm not going to underplay this or overplay it. It is a massive loss on the SEC's side. Now, building on top of this, guess what? Over here from Smoke Dog, we have institutions are already noting legal victory for Ripple against the SEC. This is a win for Ripple. XRP sales can occur in the US, 60 days to appeal. Deadline for the appeal is early October. Want to have immediate access to institutional data like this as soon as it's published, and you guys can go check out the Smoke Room from Smoke Dog. I highly suggest you guys do because He's an incredible researcher in the space. I've had the pleasure of actually talking to him. Great individual. But over here, we have the full breakdown of the win. And this is definitely the final chapter of the SEC versus Ripple case. I'm very excited to finally get this put behind us because I do believe that this is going to lead to major institutionalization, not only on Ripple side, but also even on the XRP side of things, which is going to benefit XRP holders greatly. Now, building on top of this, the fact that institutions are already celebrating this win just shows you where we are headed when it comes to the appeal. And even more recently, we have a bigger update regarding the SEC. Specifically the XRP side of things, because remember what the lawsuit originally entailed. It was that the token itself was a security. Why am I bringing this up? Well, because of this big update that we just got. We have from Marco Santori, today the federal court for the Northern District of California ruled as a matter of law that none of the tokens trading on Kraken are securities. This is a significant win for Kraken for the principle of clarity and for crypto users everywhere. It also confirms Kraken's long-standing position that it does not list securities. Guys, this completely kills the momentum that the SEC had against any crypto asset. Furthermore, the court found the SEC's self-serving invention of the crypto asset security concept to be unclear at best and confusing at worst. The court called out the SEC's straw man tactics to wonder aloud and on the record why the SEC consistently mischaracterizes Kraken's position as requiring a written contract for there to be a security. Yet the court still permitted the case to proceed to discovery. How? Read on. Fundamentally, the court in Kraken's case made the same distinction as in the Ripple case. A token isn't a security, but agreements around a token could be. The SEC unqualifiably lost on this tokens are securities theory and will not be permitted to rely on it going forward. Instead, it will need to prove for every alleged transaction on Kraken that the Howey test factors are satisfied. They aren't, and we look forward to proving this in discovery. Kraken will fight and Kraken will win. But more importantly, applying this standard across the industry under the SEC's regulation by enforcement approach will require extensive, expensive, and time-consuming discovery for each of the millions, possibly even billions of transactions in a given asset. Litigation without end. Today's ruling confirms what we've been saying all along. The SEC cannot credibly regulate crypto by enforcement to deliver clarity to the industry, to protect consumers, and foster the growth of blockchain technology. Congress must pass a comprehensive market structure framework. We applaud all of those in our government working tirelessly to make this a reality, and we thank the court for its consideration of this case. Now, Stuart Alderati went and actually commented on this because, guys, this is a very big win on the side of crypto. And we have another court, this time in the Kraken case, confirms there's no such thing as a crypto asset security. Bad news for the SEC, whose entire regulation by enforcement strategy hinges on that failed premise. And guys, this absolutely kills the SEC's argument against this industry. It is going to be very hard for them to continue going forward targeting any specific crypto asset or crypto-based company. This is a very big deal. This is why I wanted to bring up, some of the past announcements around the SEC really kind of losing in court and retracting even requests and moves against some of these assets. I feel as though the SEC is starting to kind of give up a little bit. Yes, they will continue to attack this industry because you got to remember who's behind the SEC, the big bankers, the incumbents. But with all of these major losses, with all of these major moves now, and with this major update around Kraken, I do believe that this could potentially be the final nail in the coffin for the SEC. I've said it 100 times over in the past. when we really look at what the SEC's motives have always been, whether that be targeting Ripple, whether that be targeting DeFi, what has their end goal always been? It's to target anything and everything that is going against the status quo. What do I mean by that? Well, let's take for an example DeFi. Why have they always been targeting DeFi? Well, because in DeFi, you can earn APY of 5+%. When we're talking about banks, that type of APY is unheard of. The average, national average, in terms of a bank savings account, percentage earned on your money is a fraction of a percent. So when we look at the SEC and what the SEC has been doing, specifically targeting these companies like Ripple that are pushing back against the big banks, yes, you might be saying, well, Ripple works with banks. Yes, they work with banks. But remember what the overall product does. It cuts out middlemen, aka banks that are there to eat your lunch when making cross-border payments. This is why these companies like Ripple have been targeted. This is why DeFi has also been targeted. Remember when DeFi got targeted? It was back in the middle of 2023. What was happening back in the middle of 2023? Oh yeah, that's right. Money was flowing out of the banks, aka people were pulling their money out of the banks, and a lot of it was actually flowing into crypto as well. And right around the same time as banks were starting to fail, we got the big announcement that DeFi was in the crosshairs of the SEC. And then when we actually look at these things, like even with Custodia Bank, which is a crypto bank, we can clearly see motive not only from the SEC, but also from the US Fed, from the FDIC. I mean, a lot of big agencies were tied to this. But it's all to protect the bread and butter, aka those big banks. Because you got to remember, who's the big players that are funding a lot of the nonsense? It's the incumbent bankers. They push their motive. It's like the American Banking Association, right? When we look at that association, one of the biggest donators to Brad Sherman's election campaign. Who's Brad Sherman? Oh yeah, he's the anti-crypto pusher of, oh, crypto bros print money out of thin air. You could argue that the US government does it, but it's the US government. What a ridiculous statement to say. And these are the types of politicians that continue to push their anti-crypto agenda because they are getting paid by these big bankers. The largest bankers out there, and even the American Bankers Association, were some of the largest donators to Brad Sherman. This is why when we focus on what the SEC has been doing, more specifically what has been happening around the SEC with them losing and losing and losing, I could not be any more happier about this for this entire industry, because this SEC has been purely anti-crypto to support the incumbents and the bankers. I do question if we are going to see the SEC change at all with a new chairman. I actually agree with Marco's stance here. I do think that we need Congress to kind of step in, bring in a framework, because without that, there's nothing's going to really change. We're still going to have that, gray part of, the space where it's like, all right, well, is there clarity? Is there not clarity? We don't know. And that's why we really kind of need someone to really kind of step in. And when I say someone, we need Congress, right? We need Congress to step in and deliver a full-on framework. I don't think that we can rely on the SEC to provide clarity for the space at all, even under a new chairman. So hopefully we finally get Congress to step in. Hopefully we finally get to see some type of big movement happening around the US very soon, because I do think that right now, as we really kind of look at Russia moving forward with crypto regulations, all of these other nations as well, Mika going live, I think that's putting a lot of pressure on the US. And now with crypto becoming a political weapon, I think that the need for regulation is only growing and growing and growing. And I think that there's a lot of pressure right now put on the US. So I think that by the end of this year, we should have some type of framework to go off of. Hopefully, let's see. And let's see what happens. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.